So people who have ME have told us and tell us that there's too great a distance between the different services that they might need to access. So for example, too great a distance between health services and mainstream employment support services. And that the professionals involved in their care or their case, advising them, don't know enough about both ME and work to really advise them effectively and facilitate and support them to achieve their personal aspiration in relation to work. So by integrating our service delivery, by embedding it within the NHS clinic and integrating it within local pathways with employment support services and other services that relate to that, other organisations, we help to close that distance, and we help to raise awareness and understanding of the professionals involved. So specialist ME CFS clinicians could understand more about employment issues and solutions. Employment workers could come to understand more about ME, and the same with line managers, HR and occupational health, and the provision in place from employers as well.
For the patients it's important because it means that they're only telling their story once. They're not having to explain it to lots of different professionals, which obviously helps with managing energy. In terms of how it helped the professionals working on the project, as an employment advisor, it helped me really understand the work that the clinicians were doing and how they were working with people. It meant that the clinicians really understood the work that I was doing around talking to both clients and employers around reasonable adjustment and Equality Act, and helping to support people put strategies in place. So altogether it kind of synthesized that work and condition management so people could do both together. So it was really a really key part to why I think people found it really helpful.
By providing that service, we were able to address people's employment concerns sooner. So that would help in many cases, and did help in many cases, to sort of prevent the spiral of decline that can occur if somebody perhaps falls out of work or has a longer and longer period where they are out of work. And through doing that had the added benefit of enabling the clinical input to focus on condition and symptoms. People attending clinical services didn't feel the need to bring their employment needs to those clinical appointments because a referral had been made to ourselves, and we were able to help address that. But for the individual, clearly we can understand that symptoms of ME can really derail a person, can really cause them to lose confidence, to have doubts about what they can do now and in the future because of the fluctuating nature. So by informing people, by increasing their knowledge and awareness, by giving them a framework for decision making and coaching and supporting them with that, and similarly to give them tools, specific tools to take matters forwards themselves, a lot of people who access the SEE M.E service felt more able to take sort of an active part and make active choices and take more active control and be more assertive and progress towards their employment aspirations.
There were so many new things to deal with, and I mean complexity of form filling, understanding my rights as an employee, which had been something I'd never had to think about before, and also just knowing what I could ask for and what would be reasonable, and as I said, all this turbulence was happening when I was struggling to make sense of what day it was, what time it was, where I was, and things like that. So action from me, as I said, they were fantastic in being there to ask them questions. Well, how might this go, or what do I need to ask, or even filling in forms for DWP forms. They were a mystery for a lot of time, and I had to have friends help me complete the forms because they were beyond what I was able to comprehend.
It's made a massive difference. So, for example, if somebody had a concern about work or about financial arrangements to do with work or how it might link with benefits, you know, they might ask us those questions, and we might have to go away, make a lot of kind of inquiries, try and find out the answer, we wouldn't know. And then if people particularly wanted to get back to work, really all we could say was go and see your DEA, Disability Employment Advisor, at the local job centre. And that, for somebody who has perhaps taken all of that week's energy to get to the hospital and get to an appointment to see us, it's just too big an ask. They're not then going to go and present at a job centre and ask to see somebody new who they've never met before, who probably will know nothing at all about this condition. And their experience will have been, it's not always positive with CFS-ME. They may have felt judged, they may have felt disbelieved. Then they're not able to just go out and make those, find those answers for themselves and access the correct advice. There's so much misunderstanding around this illness.
I could have perhaps tried to find out things, but with the symptoms I had, with the brain fog and everything else, as I said, reading just was so difficult, and having Paul and Amanda, having them as people that I could approach was very helpful. To not have them there, I think it would have been a very desperate situation.
Without a doubt, it's made a difference between getting back to work and losing a job for lots of people that I've worked with, because the advisors have had access to information that we might not have had as a team, and they've had time to sit and really look at that and how to negotiate and get the reasonable adjustments right. But importantly, they've been able to do that in the context of their condition, with an eye on energy management, and in the same package of care that looks at how they use their energy and how much they spend on it and when they make increases, and all of those things need to come together. I think if it had been a different agency somewhere else, it simply wouldn't have worked. So we've had a lot of success. We've seen a lot of success stories through this project.
Through the combination of access to work and others, I also now have an office by myself. An office by myself where I work is like gold dust. It's normally professors and heads of departments that get that. So that's very good because it's peaceful. I can have rest when I need to. I use lamps rather than fluorescent light. That also helps with fatigue of the eyes. So that's really good. And also I get some funding to get me to work, so I'm not able to drive anymore. So even something like that, I work at campus, which is like 45 minutes away. So even the simple things like being able to get to work and home, door to door, it takes me about an hour each way. But even help with that is appreciated.
I think it's essential. You know, everybody that we see who has a health condition, not just CFS-ME actually, there are a lot of conditions that people are dealing with that completely, this kind of intervention will be so useful for, because, you know, illness doesn't mean necessarily that you have to stop working, but it does sometimes mean that you need to make changes and readjustments, and that's not just true for CFS-ME, it's true for lots of other conditions too. So I think a project like this has enormous potential and should be available broadly throughout the NHS.